Good morning. My name is Justin Villery with the Committee of 70. We are very excited to launch our next round of student candidate interviews with candidates who are running for election on November 4th in the Pennsylvania municipal and judicial general election. And so today we are excited to have Judge Pat Dugan, who is joining us. He is running for the District Attorney of Philadelphia. And so he's going to be interviewed today by 11th and 12th grade students at the Academy at Palumbo in Philadelphia with Mr. McGeehan's social sciences class. And so, Mr. McGeehan, I'll turn it over to you. Judge Dugan, thank you very much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you, Justin, and thanks to Judge Dugan for being here. Our students have prepared questions for Judge Dugan today. We have some speed round questions. Then we have some questions about Judge Dugan's background and experience, and then we'll get into some issues that students are interested in talking about. So I'm going to turn it over to our first student interviewer, Samaj.
Yeah.
All right, Judge Dugan. My name is Samaj Sims. I go to Academy of Palumbo. I'm a senior. And I just here to ask you some speed round questions, right? So, first, let me ask how you doing today?
You know what? I'm doing pretty good. Frankly, super busy, and I'm glad I'm able to get to talk to you folks before I go on to the rest of these campaign things I got to do.
All righty. So my first question I have to ask you, very important. Are you a Birds fan?
So, actually, I should have answered the first question more honestly. I'm really depressed today because we lost to the Broncos yesterday,
You
and the
know what?
Phillies lost Saturday. So, yeah, it's been a rough weekend. But no, I'm a diehard Birds fan. Absolutely.
Nah, I feel that. I feel that. Really upset about the Birds loss, but I'd rather lose now than January. You know what I'm saying?
Well said. Well said.
All right. So my next question I have for you is, did you have a different plan with your life when you were younger? Did you see yourself being a judge later in your life when you was a young boy?
So when I was a teenager, I had a couple people actually said, you should be a lawyer. A couple friends actually said, you should be a judge. And it was always in the back of my mind. But no, I expected myself to be a high school teacher and coach baseball
Mhm.
and football. I was going to get my teaching degree, and I wound up taking my LSATs, went to law school. I was in the Army, did a lot of other things before I didn't become a lawyer until I was 33 years old. So I
Ooh,
was going down different paths before then.
all right. Glad to hear. So like what inspires you every day to strive for greatness? Like what do you do? Like do you have like a certain like regimen that you go through every day to like, get yourself ready for the day, or you just wake up every day?
Well, I will tell you that when I wake up, I try to put positive thoughts in my head because what we feel in our heads have a lot to do with how our day goes. And so I am at my age, I'm 65 years old now. I lost a brother. We were like, they call them Irish twins. We were a year apart, but he died when he was 22. So
Oh,
I'm blessed that I've been around for 40 more years than my brother has. So I look at life as a blessing. I have 6 children. They have spouses. I have 13 grandchildren. So
wow.
try to look at the positive side of every day and get out there. My what I try to do is live the life of stepping up to help other people. I've done that. I was a paratrooper as a judge, and I try to do it in my everyday life. Hold the door for somebody, let somebody merge in the vehicle, all that good stuff. I really do try to live that life.
All right, I'm glad to hear. I'm sorry for your loss as well. So a lot of people in this class, their favorite movie happens to be Hamilton. So they wanted to know if you had any opinions on the movie Hamilton or the play, anything like that.
Oh, I think it's a great production in terms of how it's being presented and has been well received. And if anybody can score some tickets for me the next time they're around, let me know.
Hey, I do know a guy. I do know a guy. All right.
You're a typical Philly kid. That's me. I listen, I was born in Fairmount and raised in Frankfurt, right there at Margaret Orthodox L stop. But like every other kid in Philadelphia, we all know a guy.
Do know a guy. All right, my last question for you for this speed round questions. Do you consider yourself a feminist?
Do I consider myself a feminist? So what I can tell you is that I was raised by a single mother.
Okay.
She's my hero. So I have supported women and their right to be, quote, full citizens, to have all the doors open for them, not to close them out. I served in a military where, there's this thing about, well, women shouldn't be able to do that. Well, I was in combat and I served with women on the front lines with me. And as a leader, some missions, when I chose people to go with me, I chose some women over men because, frankly, some of those women were better soldiers. So I don't know about any label. I do know I support women because, I was raised by a strong woman. I was, my left and right security in a combat zone were women. So I guess you can call me a feminist. I never thought about what label I would be in terms of that.
I'm really glad to hear that. As having two moms myself, I do also consider myself a feminist. So I'm really glad that we share like same views and stuff like that. So I believe I'm actually done with my questions. I'm actually gonna pass it over to my classmate Donovan.
Well, thank you.
Okay, my name is Donovan Underwood. Now moving away from
Hi,
more of
Donovan.
the lighthearted questions, we have more like serious. So, you're infamous for being anti-Trump, but then you made the switch from a Democratic party to a Republican party. I'm wondering, was it to rerun against Larry Krasner, or is there some other reason?
So just to make things perfectly clear, I am still a Democrat. So how it worked out was obviously I ran in a primary, I lost. The Republicans did a writing campaign for me because the same strategy worked for them in Pittsburgh. So I didn't have to say, yeah, go do it. They wrote me in 7,000 times. So 7,000 Republican voters voted for me. So I won the Republican nomination. There was nobody else on the Republican side. So I did not switch to being a Republican. I am running as a Philadelphian, I'm a registered independent Democrat, and I'm running on as the Republican nominee. But I'm truly not running for the Republican Party. I'm not running for the Democratic Party. I'm running for you. I'm running for all Philadelphians.
Good answer. Good answer. Now, as a vet, do you think it was more beneficial for America to be in Iraq? And as a unit, as this unit, do you think you achieved, what you were stationed there for?
So, to be completely honest with you, I was a true believer in going to Iraq. I had been out of the military for 14 years. When 9/11 happened, it took me a while. I had to lose some weight, but I went back in the military at 43 years old because I believed in helping our young people on this military mission. And what I did in Iraq, the unit that I was in, we did a lot of good things. I was in a civil affairs unit. I was working with the government, with the governor, city council of Mosul. We handed out vitamins and toys and pencils, and we dug wells. We did a lot of good work over there. But when I look back at the entirety of the Iraq war, I really have a lot of pause in terms of what we did as a nation. I don't think we should have went in the way that we did, and we certainly shouldn't have stayed there for 20 years. We disbanded their army. We made so many mistakes over those 20 years that I think there are times I believe we just made it worse than what we intended. So I have a lot of deep thoughts about how, and I'll put it on our leadership, screwed that up. Our leadership didn't listen to the experts of the Iraqi culture, of the Middle Eastern culture. We went in there like cowboys, and I think we made it worse. So yeah, there's times that I think about it heavily a lot. I wear one of these memorial bracelets on my arm. I have two people on my arm that I think about every day. One was a friend of mine who was with us in Iraq, a guy named Mark Patrick Phelan from just outside of Philly in Green Lane. And I wear the other name on there is a guy named Osama Keshmullah. He was a local Iraqi who became the governor. I worked with him every day, but he was assassinated. So a lot of blood spilled over there, and we made it worse, in my opinion.
That's heartfelt. That's deep. Thank you. Now your resume is extensive. What we have, you worked as a nuclear biological warfare specialist. How was that selection? What was that like?
Okay, that sounds a lot higher speed than it really is. The NBC, Nuclear Biological Chemical Warfare Specialist in the Army. Theoretically, if there's an atomic bomb, I was one of the guys who was supposed to go into the area and check to see how bad the radiation was from a nuclear bomb explosion. So it's pretty much a suicidal mission. In reality, what we did, I mean, that was what the practice was in case it ever happened. But really what the NBC specialist does is take care of things like the gas mask for all the soldiers. And we do CS training. That's the gas that you use in riot control and in some of the other events that might occur. So in reality, the day-to-day job of an NBC specialist is more taking care of gas mask and training for that. But that's why I got out of that and became an 11 Bravo, which was in the infantry in the 80s.
Thank you. Now my last question before I pass it off. Now, as a judge, you see it all. You see the highs and the lows of the city. Now as DA, if you were to be voted in for DA, would you let ICE through our city, or would you fight back in like means like Chicago is?
So here's the issue I have with, and I appreciate that question, but it's been portrayed in the media and it's been portrayed by the current DA about ICE. ICE is the big problem. Larry Krasner, the district attorney's office, has nothing to do with ICE. That is strictly the police department and the mayor, their executive policies. The ICE issues, it's something that the current district attorney likes to talk about it because he's making it Krasner versus Trump. That's a real easy, black and white issue there. In reality, it's just smoke and mirrors about, oh my God, it's ICE, it's ICE. Well, the thing about ICE is that we have to look at every single individual that breaks the law. So if a person goes in to rob a bank, he needs to be held accountable. Whether it's a citizen or a person doesn't have the right documents to be in our country. And that was not occurring under Larry Krasner. So my policy on ICE is, if you are a person breaking the law, then let the law handle it. You come in, you have your day in court. If it's a deportable offense, if running around shooting somebody with a gun is a deportable offense, then so be it. So I'm going to just do it even keel across the board. I definitely think the way that the ICE is being used is overhanded way too much.
Thank you very much. That is all of my questions here. I'm passing it on to Angel or Maggie.
Thank
Somebody.
you.
Thank you.
Hi,
Good
my,
morning.
my name is Magnolia Wilkerson, and I'm a 12th grader here at Academy at Palumbo. And I'm going to ask you today some specific issue questions and some
Sure.
comparison questions. So my first question for you is, what have you done to make us want to vote for you?
So for 17 years that I was on the bench, I led restorative justice. What that means is I started something called Veterans Court. So if you served in the military, you got in trouble, you got arrested, they would send your case to my courtroom And in my courtroom, I had all these wraparound services. So we would send these men and women to get drug and alcohol counseling, drug and alcohol treatment. We would find them a mentor. We would help them connect with their veterans benefits. We would find out what's going on in their life, that what was the cause of them breaking the law, allegedly. And so we would just wrap our arms around them, create this great community within the court. And over 90% of them did not come back to a courtroom for breaking the law again. So 10% recidivism rate is one of the best rates in the country. That's one of the things that I led. During COVID, I was the president judge of municipal court. We couldn't get the defendants down from State Road. I went up to the prison, just put a mask on, and I went into the prison to handle those cases so those men and women could have their day in court instead of sitting there lingering for another 6 months without a court date. I also started something called the Eviction Diversion Program. 46,000 families avoided eviction. And now there's another side to somebody not being able to pay the rent and being evicted. Whoever owns the property needs to get paid or else they lose their property. We got $300 million paid to the landlord. So we help people who are being evicted, but we also help the person who owned the home get paid the rent. So these are some of the things that I've done on the bench. I'm going to continue to do programs like that as the DA, but I also want to hold that guy accountable who is shooting people as they come out of schools. As you guys go to the rec centers, you see all these shootings, these block parties. The people that are doing that have to be held accountable, and I plan on doing that. I'm going to do both restorative, rehabilitative justice, as well as holding people accountable.
Okay. I think that was the answer that I was looking for, kind of. Very good. So my next question is, Krasner has made a lot of changes to Philadelphia. So how do you plan to make some more impactful or unique changes within like Philadelphia?
So the restorative justice that I'm talking about, when Larry became the district attorney, I was excited because Larry is, air quotes, the most progressive DA in the country. Well, I don't think he is, because he did not help us with these programs, these diversion programs. He obstructed from them. He obstructed us from making them better. Some of these programs have pretty much fallen apart. So I want to reinvigorate them because we're actually helping people. So as the DA, I will bring that back. But I also will, we've had 3,200 murders in the city of Philadelphia in the last 8 years. And I know I'm preaching to the choir because I know you folks know people who've been killed. You know victims of violence. Over 10,000 people have been wounded in the city of Philadelphia. That's more than occurred when I was in Afghanistan as well. In a 20-year war, we lost 2,459 people. But in the city of Philadelphia, we've lost 3,200 in a little bit, 7.5 years. That's way too many. It's way too many. And 85% of our murder victims are African Americans. We have to face that head on and hold people accountable so they're not getting 5 or 6 chances to walk around the neighborhoods, to shoot up a block party and then kill a person. We have to grab people when they're running around with guns when they're earlier and try to turn their life around instead of just saying, never mind, we're not going to prosecute you. And that's what Larry's been doing. And I want to change that. But I also want to continue to do the restorative, rehabilitative justice.
Okay. Thank you. And my last question for you is, what changes do you uphold? Like, I know that you like did the programs and things, but like, do you feel as though you want to make more changes to make Philadelphia a better place other than the ones that you were doing?
Yeah. So I was a judge. I love my job. I quit my job because of what I saw in my courtroom every single day. And I just saw all of a sudden the district attorneys, they were not coming in to take care of the victims. One of the biggest things that I will do. So if you are a victim of a crime, the prosecutor is obligated. The law says you're supposed to stay in touch with the victim's family. You have to communicate with them to get them to come to court, to make sure that they have a little bit of input in how the case is handled. And victim after victim, crime members' families have told me, it's been in the paper, that the district attorney's office is not communicating. I will open that communication back up. My DAs, their assistants, they will be trained to make sure that they're reaching out to that woman who lost her son to gun violence so that she knows what's going on with these cases. And time again, I get approached by people telling me that that has ceased in the last 8 years. I want to bring back taking care of the victims, make that a priority.
Yeah. Okay. So that's all for my questions, and I hope you have a wonderful day. And I'm going to
Thank you.
pass it off to Angel.
Thank you.
Hi,
Hello.
oh, my name is Angel. I'm a junior at Academy at Palumbo, and I have more questions for you, but like more specific on issues we've seen. So, what does success as a district attorney in for Philadelphia look like to you?
Making our cities safer, having our communities have a voice. So just a couple examples are Tioga Nicetown, that neighborhood, that area. According to statistics off the real estate folks, it's 417% more violent, 417% more violent than the average neighborhood in the country. I'm sorry, but every neighborhood in Philadelphia deserves to be as safe as the average neighborhood throughout our country. And we have so many neighborhoods like that, 417%. Frankfurt's 216% more dangerous than the average neighborhood in America. I want to get it where all our neighborhoods are as safe as the average neighborhood in America. That's a goal that we should all be wishing for and striving for. And that's really what my goal is, to make it safer for you to go to the playground, for kids to be able to walk to the corner store without feeling they're going to get shot. So I want to make the city safer.
Thank you for that. I grew up in West Philly, so I see how that could be a huge issue with gun violence and issues overall. Next question. So, will you be maintaining DA Krasner's focus on exoneration for those wrongfully convicted?
So the exoneration program is certainly a worthy cause. The one thing I will tell you is that there's been a couple decisions of late about a couple of these exonerations. So the Conviction Integrity Unit is supposed to look at the entire facts, the entire case, new evidence, and look at it with open eyes. What was happening on a couple of these cases, and they're highly publicized recently, is that when a judge looks at the case, Larry Krasner's office comes in and says, exonerate this person, Your Honor, because we believe there was unfairness when the conviction occurred. A couple cases recently, judges have looked at it and peeled the onion layers away and said, wait a minute, you lied about this. There was one case recently where Judge Coyle found that Larry's office lied for over 7 years, withheld 3 boxes of evidence. You can't do that if you're the prosecutor. You can't cheat on this. So the woman who was the head of the Conviction Integrity Unit, she would not come to court in front of the judge because she said, if I came, I would have to plead the fifth, which is, you're pleading the fifth, so you don't want to incriminate yourself. So my long-winded answer here is, yes, I will keep the Conviction Integrity Unit, but I will make sure that the people working in the Conviction Integrity Unit have integrity. But I will tell you this, no person should be in jail with some sort of illegal conviction, some sort of nefarious way of convicting it, whether it's the police lying, planted evidence, bad attorneys. Nobody should be in jail unjustly. So I will certainly continue to lead the way for that, but I will make sure my attorneys are doing it with integrity as well.
Thank you for that answer. So this question is more broad, just more kind of generalized. So what is your opinion on the death penalty?
So in Pennsylvania, the death penalty, there's basically a moratorium. Governor a few years back decided that nobody else should be put to death. I have a very hard time saying people should be put to death. So in general, I agree with that. But I will tell you, if somebody were to walk into a kindergarten in Philadelphia and kill 26 babies, I'm going for the death penalty. So there are some crimes that I will seek the death penalty because that message has to be sent. But as a I'm a Catholic. I went to the prep. You know, I struggle with a death penalty case, but there are some people who, in my mind, it has to happen.
Thank you. You have a very interesting response. So to jump back to what we were talking about like a few moments ago with ICE. So I have two immigrant parents who I know who aren't extremists, who aren't just waving a gun around. So what do you think how do you think ICE is having an impact on those type of families and families who are here for or are seeking a better life for themselves? How do you think ICE could negatively impact Philadelphia if it was to be drawn forth?
Well, to me, they've already affected pretty much every family that has anybody that's, whether they're an immigrant or air quotes, they look like an immigrant. It frankly has impacted my family. I have a son from Panama and I have a daughter who's half Korean, and both of them have felt um, the issues with ICE. You know, they've both mentioned to me that they're scared someday that when they get stopped, somebody's going to just label them as an illegal immigrant and maybe detain them. So I don't like the fact that people who are here, whether you have good papers or bad papers, are now being profiled to go ahead and just grip them up, arrest them, and just, you know, they almost like disappear. And then what's going to happen to their status, whether they have papers or don't have papers? It shouldn't be that you're just going around to a car wash, and just grabbing all these people because they're speaking Spanish as they wipe down our cars. No, that's not the way America's supposed to work. But that guy who's running around, he's got a gun, robbing a bank, and he turns out to be that he doesn't have papers from El Salvador or China or wherever. Yeah, that person needs to be prosecuted and then deported. But there's too many people who have been in this country for years that have lived a good life that we need to assist. They're good citizens. They've been good people in our country. They're not the people we should be pushing out of our nation. And I'm sorry that your family is feeling this effect.
So you mentioned before that it's not completely the DA's job to deal with like the ICE matter, but you do have the impact and the place where you can empower certain things to happen. So how do you think you're going to like enforce the views you just told me positively in Philadelphia?
Again, it's really down to the fact of somebody gets arrested. That's what my job is. The job of the DA is after somebody's arrested, whether or not charges are preferred, whether or not you actually go ahead and prosecute that person. And that's truly the only role that the DA has. Now, I've heard Mr. Krasner say, well, if the ICE agents come in and they commit a crime, yeah, they're going to be held accountable. No kidding. Anybody that commits a crime, no matter what class they're in, what their status is, whether they have a badge or don't have a badge, that's what needs to be held accountable about that. So it truly is, it's this shiny object that Larry keeps talking about that he really has very little impact in.
Yeah. Thank you so much for all your answers. That was the last question that we have for you.
But listen, I really appreciate all the questions. Well done, folks. Well done.
Yeah,
Make
we've
sure.
got.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, I was going to say, this is awesome. You're doing civics. And the biggest thing about civics in the United States of America is the power to vote. So please, every single one of you, when you're 18, and I know a few of you are 18, make sure you're registered to vote and then come out to vote every single election. Do what you're doing today. Educate yourself on all the candidates and then make your informed decision. Bring your families and friends to vote. Educate them. We need more people to vote in this country because you see what happens to our country when people stay home and don't come out to vote.
Thanks so much, Judge Dugan. We really appreciate you for spending time and for really, thinking deeply about their questions and giving us honest answers. We have some real deep thinkers in this room, as you can tell. They're really thinking deeply about this, and we appreciate you engaging with them.
Yeah, I really wish we could have a follow-up because I'd love to have the students' perspective of, what they thought. So feel free if you have anything, send it to me. But
Sure,
again,
sure.
I appreciate this.
Yeah, we appreciate you for taking the time to be with us, and we appreciate the Committee of 70 for helping to make these happen, because I think this is how we bring civics to life, by doing things like this.
Yes, and thank you.
Thank you both. As a reminder, voter registration deadline is October 20th. Election day is November 4th. And like Judge Dugan said, if you're eligible to vote and of age, make sure you get registered and vote. Thank you both very much. Appreciate it. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Justin.
Thank you, everybody.